Hello parents and caregivers, Pastor Ryan here at the Source of Power for our building, because I want to be a source of empowering you, the parent and caregiver, to be the spiritual leader of your home. So let's get ready for an hour of power. But don't worry, it's not really an hour. All right, you ready to power up? Here we go, Power Hour. Hey parents, guardians, and caregivers, thanks for joining me again for another hour of power. Don't worry, it won't be that long. But I wanted to talk today about the world we live in, which is full of technology. We're gonna hit on technology today. It seems like technology is all around us. Like from the point of birth, our kids are surrounded by screens. And even in your day, it's full of screens. Screen time is almost intrinsically interwoven into our day, whether it's a phone call or text we're getting on our phones, whether it's going to work and working in front of a screen, coming home and relaxing in a living room with a screen, if it's even our kids having to do school on a screen. Screen time and technology is a huge part of our world, so I want to speak a little bit about that. See, technology can be a great tool though. My heart and kind of a brief overview of technology can be a great tool. It can also be a major gateway of other influences, whether you want those influences or not. But some of those influences are good, some of those influencers are bad. All right, and then also as time goes on, I am myself finding as a parent, and I'm sure you've been in this boat too, where I feel like I'm falling further and further behind on how to use technology and what technology does. So our goal as parents, caregivers, guardians is to teach our kids to use freedom of technology to help them while they're with us under our roof, so that when they're out on their own, they can better handle that total freedom and keep technology as something that's beneficial for them. In other words, I've heard it said this way: we want to use technology, not be used by technology. So here are some great tips for any technology to empower you to keep technology as something beneficial for your kids. The first technology tip is actually this: get the most out of your kids' moments. Here's what I mean. Try to capture those moments with mental pictures and soak in all the feelings, because a lot of times in reality, we're just digital hoarders. We don't go back and watch or look at the pictures we take, and so we miss a kid's moment because we're watching through a 5-inch screen or a 9-inch screen or whatever it might be. But those moments that you do want to capture, think about, is there someone else that can record it for you, or do you have a tripod or a place you can prop up your device and record it so that you as a parent can show your kid you're fully there, you're fully vested, and you're fully part of that moment and not just stuck behind a screen. Tip number 2 for parents and guardians is to have a staging plan where you decide at what age kids get access to different technologies, like a trickle plan. You know, at this age they get a phone, at this age they get an iPad, at this age they get social media. And also a great idea is don't just tie these stages at a point of grades or money. You know, don't just say, hey, because you've got all A's, you can now get an iPad and have a subscription to this game you want to do. But rather, look at tying those open gates and those other access to different technologies, tie those to the maturity level of your kids or the character development of their kids. Because to be honest, some kids may have a great money savvy. They might be able to raise $800 for a phone, but they might not know, at what point to turn off their phones. And so maybe look at trickling this access to technology in your kids' lives at the point where they are mature enough, or you see that they have enough character developed to handle the use and the access to that technology. Tip number 3, now let's go to our kids. And understand, you may not have given your kid access, or you may have not given them a phone or iPad, but if their friends have a phone or iPad, your kid has access to a device. So a great question to ask is, which of your friends have devices? This will put it on your radar and give you the heads up when you send that kid to a person's house, or you let that kid go and play with their friend. All right, a great question to ask your kid, just to get an idea of the devices that they have access to, even though they're not from you. But if their friends have devices, they can still access and have a device pretty close at hand. Now, tip number 4, be invested in what your child is doing online. So if they're doing social media, if they have a YouTube page, if they're building something in Minecraft or whatever it is, you get just as excited, interested in that, and invested in that as you would be their soccer game or their baseball games. All right, show that you want to be a part of their life online, that is a public space, just like an activity in school, or just like a league, a soccer league is something that we can be invested in as well. Tip number 5 is this: to maintain access and visibility to your kids' profiles on gaming platforms or any social media or any account that they have or they need to create. Make sure that you also have the password that you can log in, and that also you are monitoring and supervising and have visibility of what they're putting on, posting, talking about. Tip number 6, to keep that online space public and to keep that conversation going about what your kids are doing online, here's some great things to ask to spark the conversation. One example is this: have you seen anything that you weren't expecting to see when you're online lately? Or another variant of it: have you clicked on something and it led you down a path that you did not think it would take you? Those are great 2 questions that you can just find out. Hey, what's going on? Have you seen anything online that stood out to you, shocked you? Or did you click on something that took you down a road that you didn't think it would take you down? It's a great way to keep that, what's happening in the online world and on our screens, public and open and comfortable with coming to each other about what influences and what things may come across our screens. Tip number 7 is this: set a rule not to share what is private in a public space. An example: don't encourage your kids not to share a phone number online. Don't give out other personal information like an address or pictures or even conversations they have in your family or with their friends. These are all private things that we need to teach them not to put public, because it is a breach of trust in our own family and our friend relationships. Tip number 8, keep technology use in a public space where it's easy for you to see or hear what they are doing or watching. I've also heard a great idea of parents having this charging station for devices right next to their bed when they go to sleep at night. I hope these 8 technology tips will help you in any form of technology, but now I want to hone in on one topic, and that is video games. I know our kids love video games. I love video games. Video games are actually a great way to bond with your kids and create memories together, but we still need to know what is happening on video games as parents and guardians. So here's some great questions to ask to help you when your kid's interested in a video game, or you're trying to figure out what they're doing or what game they're playing. Here's some 3 questions to ask your kid about any video game to help you understand better. First question is this: what's the content, or what's the story? What's the mission of the game? What's the point? What am I trying to do? Am I trying to outrun the cops? Am I trying to go on a quest and find the gem, or whatever? What's the story? What's the mission of the video game? And then the second question is this: what's the commitment? What's it going to take for them to get the good or enjoyment out of this game? Is it a 1 hour a day commitment? Or is this an 8 hours over the weekend commitment? Or I'm going to live in your basement when I'm 30 years old and still be playing this game commitment? Don't know. But that's a great question. What's the commitment? And then the third and last question is this: what's the connection? Can this video game connect with other people online around the world? Can they have conversations or hear conversations of other people around the world that you maybe not vetted or wouldn't know that your kids are being influenced by their conversations? So those are the 3 questions. When it comes to video games, great 3 questions to ask right up front. What's the point? What's the mission? Second, what's the commitment? And third, what's the connection? I hope these technology tips have been helpful for you. And as parents and guardians, I encourage you to research and recognize the effects that screen time has on your kids and set your rules or your parameters accordingly. And last but not least, don't be afraid to say these words: go outside and play. That's right. Use those words. There's nothing better for your kids' development and imagination than letting them go outside and play. So don't be afraid to use that, and I encourage you to put it in your arsenal of vocabulary. Well, thank you all so much for joining us for another Power Hour, and I hope these technology tips will go a long ways in helping your family use technology and not be used by it.